You've heard the words 1,000 times: crusade, jihad, holy war. They echo through history, dripping with blood, faith, and a terrifying certainty. But what were they really? And are they just relics of a dusty past? Let's take a look. For centuries, these weren't just words. They were calls to action, promises of salvation, and death sentences all rolled into one. It's a story that's often painted in simple black and white. Christians versus Muslims, good versus evil. But the truth, as always, is far messier, far more human. Let's rewind to the 11th century. The Byzantine Emperor Alexios I is in a bind. His empire, the last bastion of ancient Rome, is crumbling under pressure from the Seljuk Turks. So, he sends a desperate plea to the west, to Pope Urban II. He's asking for a few good knights, some mercenaries to help push back the enemy. But what he got was something else entirely. In 1095, at the Council of Clermont, Pope Urban II delivered one of the most influential speeches in history. He didn't just call for a few soldiers. He called for a pilgrimage of arms, a holy war to reclaim Jerusalem, the holiest city, from Muslim rule. He promised that anyone who took up the cross and died in the cause would have their sins forgiven. Instantly, Deus vult, they cried. God wills it. And so began the First Crusade, an unprecedented wave of humanity. Knights, peasants, nobles, and fanatics surged towards the Holy Land. It was a brutal, bloody affair, driven by a cocktail of genuine piety, greed for land, and sheer adventure. When they finally took Jerusalem in 1099, the streets were said to have run red with the blood of its Muslim and Jewish inhabitants. A victory for Christendom, but at a horrifying cost. Now let's flip the coin. The word jihad is often misunderstood in the West as simply holy war, but its primary meaning in Islam is struggle or striving. It can be an internal, spiritual struggle to be a better Muslim, or it can be an external, physical struggle to defend the faith. When the Crusaders, or the Frange, as the Arabs called them, stormed into their lands, the concept of a defensive jihad was reignited. Leaders like the legendary Saladin rose to unite the fractured Muslim world. He wasn't just a brilliant general, he was a symbol of chivalry and justice. When he recaptured Jerusalem in 1187, he offered a stark contrast to the Crusader conquest. There was no massacre. He allowed Christians to leave peacefully or stay and worship freely. This cycle of violence and vengeance, crusade and jihad, would rage for nearly 200 years. Kings would gain and lose fortunes, empires would rise and fall, and millions would die, all convinced they were doing God's will. But here's the most chilling part. These weren't monsters. They were people just like us. People who loved their families, feared God, and believed with every fiber of their being that their cause was just. And that's the true price of God's will, isn't it? The terrifying ease with which absolute faith can turn into absolute violence. It's a lesson etched in the stones of Jerusalem, a warning that echoes from the past, reminding us to be wary of anyone at all, who claims to know the mind of God.